Welcome back. It is finally Game Music. I am your host, Kristoffer Schenström, and this is episode 156. This is the numbered filler episode dos, or number 2, so they say. And today I basically wanted to go a little bit nostalgic, look and listen to music that I listened to when I was growing up. At least a few songs I did listen to. Because, as you might have known, there wasn't that much of game music in my life when I grew up. I usually were listening to mainstream music when I grew up at home. So usually when I was playing games, my mom and my parents overall could be a little bit frustrated with all the blips and bloops they heard from the TV. So I usually had to lower down the volume in order for them to enjoy their music, which was usually the mainstream music we listened on radio or bought from CDs. But yeah, there were some music that I really did enjoy, and basically I want to run back a little bit and listen to the main theme, usually the first thing you listen to when you open up a certain game. So I picked 3 different nostalgic games that I really enjoyed when I grew up, and let's just listen to these tunes and enjoy what I have to bring. And in the end, I hope you guys who are listening will be able to go back and comment on this episode, because I would love to know some of the tracks you listen to and that you remember from the older games that you played when you were young. But we're starting out a little bit more relaxed, I would say, as we're starting with Sensible Golf and the intro from the Amiga version. Do you want to play golf? Well, that is the question they're basically asking you when you're starting out the Amiga version of this game. I myself did not own Amiga myself, so I played this on PC through DOS. And yeah, this was Sensible Golf and the intro, and I just love this version. I remember the blips and bloops that I listened to when I started up this game, and this was actually one of the first games that I remember owning on the PC. We were visiting the local store, and I walked home with this plastic case with an eagle on that basically gets hit by a golf ball. And I remember this cover so clearly with the colors going on, and it just looked so funny to me. And it wasn't like the original like card box that they had for PC games, the big boxes people of my age might know of. They had these like flip cover, like book-like cover, all in plastic. And when you open this one up, you had a little manual, and you had this the cassette or the disc just pushed into like small corners, so it was kind of held in place. And that was basically it. It was just a lot of plastic in this product, and then it had this printed like cover onto it, so it wasn't folded like paper or anything. I remember that it was just printed onto the plastic, so a whole lot of plastic just gone into this product for one of these discs, and then the manual, and it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm not a fan of like the simulation type of games overall when it comes to games like ever. But for some reason, Sensible Golf was this golf game that it didn't really have any arcade feeling or anything to it. I just loved the game for some reason, and I've never really loved any other game they are more into the simulation kind of style. And I had a really hard time. I always want some sort of twist in the games I played. For example, if I want to play a racing game, I rather much play Flat Out, which is an arcade where you need to create chaos in order to get boost, and you don't want to destroy your car enough, and so on. Rather than playing Colin McRae, which is more like a dirt rally simulation type of game. So, always when it comes to games, I really like the twist of it. I don't want reality added to my games that much. I always want the twist, because, well, going out and playing golf, I can freaking do that myself. Going out and playing normal soccer, I can go and do that myself. Just need to find a couple of friends. And what I'm getting at, I basically can do these things myself, and therefore I don't want to go and play them. I mean, I'd rather just go outside and do them instead of playing them at home on a screen. So I always want this twist. Looking at football, I really do enjoy Mario Mario Soccer, the Mario Football, no, Mario Strikers Charged. There we go. Sorry, contemplating everything. No, but when we're looking at these type of titles, I really like the twist to it. You charge up the football in the Mario Strikers games, and you can use like combos and superpowers and so on. You can't do that for real. Well, theoretically, maybe you could, I don't know. But no, most likely you can't put the football on fire and just go fire away. So I really do enjoy these kind of things, and I really had good memories about Sensible Golf, and just looking at it today, I still remember a lot of things, and especially the neatness of the game, because it was one of the smoother experiences on PC at that time, in my opinion. Don't remember all the different games I played during this time, but I really was fond of this game, and I really enjoyed the soundtrack. It's more jazzy type of vibe into it, simplistic, and just created a mellow kind of feeling to the game. And it was just neat. Neat as hell. So when it comes to this game, so the composition here was created by the British composer Jon Hare, and together with the soundtrack he had the British Richard Joseph. The game was created by the British studio Sensible Software, and the game was released initially on the Amiga back in 1995, with the release in Europe. The year after, the game came also on MS-DOS, so this was the year where I got it. I might have not gotten it especially for 1996, maybe 1997 or something. A little bit unsure. So, and just looking, well, enjoying the intro of this. I don't know if you guys get any specific title to mind, but for me, I haven't played the game per se, not that much at least. But the intro I've listened to so many times, and especially since I listened to it on a podcast that took this game up. Cannon Fodder. But it's so much fun, because when we're looking at the company here, and we're going to go through this with the information about both of these guys as well. So we're going back, and we're going to talk about John here. John was also the founder of Sensible Software, working as a lead game designer mainly. But he also did some audio work for most of the titles they worked on, starting with their title, Cannon Fodder. So it's so much fun noticing that, first of all, the company has done both the games, and they also utilized both John and Richard for both of the tracks. Therefore, we have this amazing, sound-alike intros. Cannon Fodder has War Has Never Been So Much Fun, while we have Do You Wanna Play Golf here on Sensible Golf. And yeah, looking at Cannon Fodder, it was the Sensible Software's 16th game. And following up, we have a giant selection of Sensible Soccer series between 1995 all till 2006. And the latest audio work John worked on was on his own title Sociable Soccer, which was released back in 2019. And looking at the other composer, Richard here, he is a legend within the Amiga and the Commodore 64 audio. And with a little bit more than 20 years of creating audio, he sadly passed away the 4th of March 2007. And this was because of lung cancer. And he died at the age of 53 years old. He started out with sound design back in 1986, and this on the title Rad Warrior. And just to name some of the more popular titles that I can view in this list, I think most likely we will go back and return to John and or Richard, sorry. We will return to Richard and talk more about the different games he worked on, not just the popular ones as well. So some of the popular titles we have on his list is Speedball 2 Brutal Deluxe back in 1990. We have one of my favorite games on the Amiga that I did play. Super hard game, but still have fond memories. Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night, and also James Pond 2, codename Robocop, and both of these two were released in 1991. We also have Soldiers of Fortune, which is more known as the Chaos Engine here in Europe, that was released in 1993. We have Putty Squad from 1994, Street Racer in 1997, Evil Genius in 2004, and lastly is Sensible World Soccer 2006 that also was released in 2006, of course. There is another game that is coming out after 2006, but this is Sensible World Soccer 96-97 release that got released in 2007. But this is also only an updated version of the game for PC and Xbox 360, so he didn't work on any music, and this game was released after he had passed away. So yeah, that was the two different people behind the music and a little bit of the company history as well. Just a small tad bit. I think we're going to release or going to go back and talk about these guys at a later date. Because, well, it is a super awesome game, it's super interesting company, and also maybe getting to know both Richard and John a little bit more could be a way super interesting, so to speak. And with that said, let's move on to the next title. And I think this is the main title I listened to the most, because this was a freaking well-played game back when I grew up in my kid's room. Playing together with up to 4 players. Of course, I'm talking about Super Bomberman 2. So this is the title screen. And there we have it, the Super Bomberman 2 title screen. It's really short, it's really sweet, like maybe what you want the title screen to be, because, well, you're not spending a lot of time in the title screen, but we know for a fact there's a lot of title screens out there that are way longer than this one. This is like almost 10 to 15 seconds of a loop, where we know for in fact that a lot of the titles are up to like a minute, and you're hard to listen to that. But for some reason, when it comes to Bomberman, you have the same track for the full title screen in this game. So from the start, when the Bomberman name pops up and the whole menu just pops up for selection, you're going to listen to this song all around. And this goes out either if you're playing the single player, going to the options, or starting to play multiplayer in this game, because you can play up to 4 players in this. And I know maybe a lot of you guys have either played Super Bomberman in any type of version, or have played a game much like Bomberman, like rip-offs, rebrands, and so on. So looking at Bomberman 2 and this track, I think it's a fantastic title screen. It's basically like a fanfare to it. And having like the super easy like cinematic intro that you utilize for this game, the reason why I didn't take that one was due to the fact that it is a cinematic. So music for that part is more like an introduction rather than the intro, in my opinion, even though cinematics are usually used for intros. But considering like how Sensible Golf were and everything, Sensible Golf does have the menu and the intro kind of the same, it's just not the song in it, and I wanted to provide a song for it. And considering what we have next, I will also get into that part as well. So you'll understand a little bit by the end of this how I was thinking more, considering why I chose the different themes and also the different tracks. But I really enjoy Bomberman, and this is the most, maybe it's not my favorite tune of Bomberman, but this song is so printed into my mind due to the fact that I played it so much. There weren't that super many games me and my friends had in together that we were able to play 4-player on. We usually played Super Bomberman or we played Micro Machines. Those were like the main titles we played together when we were a bigger group. And I was the one who had the multi-adapter or multi-tap, so I usually took my multi-tap back and forth between my friends in order for us to just play along and have fun with the games. So we didn't usually take the games per se over to each other, we just went back and forth with accessories instead. I don't know if it was the better choice or not, but it's Super Nintendo, you just bring anything and it just works. So, but yeah, looking here on the Super Bomberman 2, we're so much back at one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, and the composers yet again is the amazing Japanese Yasuhiko Fukuda. The company behind the game is of course Japanese Hudson Soft Company and Produce Company as well, so there are two companies working on this game. The game, it was released back in the 28th of April 1994, and this was released exclusively in Japan, but later that year the game was also released in the US, and Europe had the release the year after that, so back in 1995. This also included the Swedish release, which also got released together with the European release. And yeah, we have been talked about Super Bomberman 2 before, so looking through the compositions for Yasuhiko here, there is not much work that has been done on any new game ever since 1999, so Yasuhiko is not currently within video games anymore and creating soundtracks for them. But instead, he has not gone away from music. Instead, he's working with different bands, and he has been creating music for both anime and anime movies. So he's not entirely out of the game of making music. He's still there, he's very much alive, and it is amazing just to continue to listen to the tracks that he creates. Now he creates them more towards something, to create a specific emotion, instead of having the playful video game kind of feeling that is more there to, like, increase the experience. So when it comes to the soundtrack for Super Bomberman 2, I think it's one of the better soundtracks for me playing the game, but listening to the game outside of the experience, it kind of becomes a little bit bland sometimes. But as you're listening to the music, as you're playing it, it's freaking great. And the times I've been playing this game, one thing I remember they introduced into the second game was all the different versions of levels you could play. You don't have the normal like brick level. They added like a cave level. They added a racetrack level where they added the situations where you can run over a number, and depending on the number you will gain that speed. So you have a number from 1 to 9, and the number is always random, so when you walk over it, it becomes a new number. So you can walk back and forth all until you have the super speed that you want or want to have, basically. But at the same time, going around and chasing each other, it was not the best kind of map, even though it was fun at times. Instead, we either love the map where you can basically jump around in a little forest, and then you actually get a jumping command for Bomberman. He's not used to jumping around. He did have some functionalities for jumping on trampolines and such, but never really a jump command. So if you really time something well, you can jump over flames and so on, but overall you try to jump around on this map, trying to either avoid explosions or avoid getting hit, because on this specific level you also have the water bomb power-up, which basically every time you tossed a water grenade, it just bounced around randomly and ended up in a place where it exploded, in the end at least. So you try to just jump around and just have a good time, and everybody's just tossing these water bombs and jumping around all the time, and we will basically see in a battle royale style who dies, who lives, and it's all about timing in the end. And I just love that from the time when I played a lot of Super Bomberman 2, and I have no issues starting this game up again. Maybe I should start this one up, because Super Bomberman is a game that I never completed. And I gone so far in this game, I really enjoy the single-player campaign that they do have. So it is a little bit of a story, even though it's super weird. Nothing is really in text. You're just walking around, like exploding giant robots and different Bomberman, just like a Mega Man style type of game. So yeah, that's interesting. But when it comes to different games when I grew up, I guess you all already know that I'm basically more of a PC Master Race type of guy. And one of the games, and of course I just have talked about these type of games a lot of times, but I never really talked about one of my favorite games within this company. I'm talking about Blizzard Entertainment, and you guys know we've been talking about Diablo, we've been going back and listening to the different tracks from the beginning where they started, but now we're finally there. We're going to talk about Warcraft 2. So here's the main menu, and we'll take a little bit more of the information as soon as we're done. Warcraft 2, but also the undertitle Tides of Darkness, and this was the main theme of the game. So now I can kind of fill out the whole picture here. So looking at Warcraft and Blizzard specifically, they do always or usually have some sort of cinematic in the beginning of their games, but they also have a couple of tunes going on when they're showing their logo and so on. So the reason I kind of wanted to kind of frame it into, I wanted to have like main menu kind of thing going on where you basically pick the modes and so on. So that was kind of the framing that I did and the reason why I did what I did. But Sensible Golf, which kind of stems out a little bit, I just wanted to go with a better version of it. If I wanted to go more like of what I was experiencing when I grew up, I should have gone with just the bleep and bloop DOS version for Sensible Golf. But I just thought that when it came to the Amiga version, it was just way better, and therefore I went with that one. But when it comes to Warcraft 2, this is a golden age for RTS for me. I just loved how... well, first of all, let's just go back a little bit and just start with just that I'm a fantasy kind of guy. I don't like sci-fi that much at all. I do like some of the sci-fi movies like Star Wars and so on, but I always been more like connected with fantasy, dragons, swords, rogues, warriors, paladins, and everything like that. Been playing role-playing game for so long time and enjoyed like fantasy-style games so much. And Warcraft 2 is actually, or Warcraft series is one of my favorite series when it comes to RTS games, and I loved World of Warcraft as well as an MMO. But Warcraft 2 really holds a special place in my heart. It's one of the games my half-brother introduced me to, and it is one of these games that was just fantastic to play. It had a great story. It was amazing to play online. Well, I didn't play online that much. This was basically me playing together and playing multiplayer on LAN parties. And the interesting thing about Warcraft 2, even when you're still inside a multiplayer match playing with your friends, if they start cheating, you are getting those cheats too. And this is just a fantastic way how they balanced it out. But it is also kind of boring at the same time because one of the sheets you can write basically in Warcraft 2 was "It is a good day to die." And basically what that did is they made you immortal. So it is a good day to die and you got immortal. Maybe that was it is a good day to die when you started killing everybody with like one shot. I don't remember exactly right now, but it is a good day to die is one of the cheat codes that I do remember. There's also Tiger Lily, Kaiser Soze, and so on. But there's a lot of cheats. But the funniest thing was when you played multiplayer, everybody got the cheat as well. So if you tried to cheat to get a little edge on the match, you didn't. So if you got 1,000 gold because you wanted to build something, everybody else got 1,000 gold so they can counter your freaking cheat. It's like this cheat thing they did on Call of Duty, where people that started cheating, they got thrown into a different matchup where everybody was cheating. So all of a sudden, every cheater was just playing with other cheaters, and I just love that kind of counteraction towards cheaters. Like, even if you're interested, oh, I just wanted to try, oh, it wasn't fun, so I uninstalled it. It's like, yeah, you fucked up. You cheated. You're once a cheater, always a cheater. And the times I cheated was in games where I couldn't really do any harm to people, or for funny moments. Those were the only times I cheated in some way. For example, I did some cheats in Diablo, but I only cheated after completing the main game. Then there was this trainer where you can basically and easily make your own item. So you made an item which was level 1, and then you increased all the stats, so all the stats was insane on that item, and then you put that on, and you basically had a max level character being a level 1 character. So you could walk through every game and just killing everything and just level up and have all these points which you could put on nothing. And at the same time, you had another cheat on Diablo 2 where you can basically click on a potion at the same time you're picking up an item, and that item or that potion became that item. So yeah, I have done some cheating in my time, but I never cheated online in Battle.net mode or anything. So that is my kind of code of honor when I'm playing or when I'm cheating. I can't do that to win anything. I do that either for comedy reasons, or I'm doing it for myself in order to just look and exploit the game a little bit to see what happens. But when it comes to Warcraft 2, I just love the music for this game. I haven't listened to a lot of the music while playing the game because it usually was down to 0 and you started shouting at everybody when you played in LAN parties. And playing on single player, I just didn't care about the music. But listening now at it, and when I started researching for this episode and what type of music that I wanted to add to this, I started listening to the music for Warcraft 2. And of course, I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. It's very deep. It's not emotional to the extent like, oh, I'm starting to cry. It's emotional in another way of sense where I get a sense of chaos and war. You have this trumpets going on, just like in, well, I'm taking this main theme as an example, of course, right now. So I really do enjoy this part of Warcraft 2, and when it comes to the story, I just had to look at the Let's Play just in order to get a more glimpse of the game, and I just, the nostalgia that runs over me when I'm watching this, all the characters when they're moving around and so on, especially with the orcs, Zug Zug, and to war, and so on. I just love all these different barks and shouts they did. The player who was playing, he basically was just clicking around more than actually like clicking on and getting all the funny conversations I have. Because one of the things that Warcraft was like unique with was you can click a unit a lot of times and they would say these unique kind of like rants and so on. I remember most of these from Warcraft 3 rather than Warcraft 2, but it's still super funny. And if you click on a sheep for a long time, it basically just blows up. And that they took that a little bit too far with Warcraft 3 where it basically almost became like a nuke. It's just hilarious. It's amazing how they can add these little Easter eggs, and it just increases the experience because of weirdness. I mean, have you ever seen a sheep explode except in Warcraft series? Neither have I. But anyway, these are some of my thoughts, and I just really enjoy the epicness of the Warcraft game and the music it came with. So, when we're looking at the composer here, the game here was composed by the American composer Glenn Stafford. The game, it was developed by the amazing American company Blizzard Entertainment, and the game, it was released for DOS back in 1995. And this was also a world release, so it didn't take any extra time for it to release to other places in the world. And when we're looking at the composer Glenn here, he has almost only worked on games released by Blizzard, starting out in 1993. But I'm not gonna spoil that much of the games. We have talked about some of these games as well, and I know we've been talking about Glenn as well on top of that. But I would just love to visit Glenn Stafford again to talk a little bit of who he is and also talk more about the different Blizzard games that he worked on, which is basically like every Blizzard game. But it will be fun to go through a little bit of Blizzard history, because we only talked about specific games most of the time. But excluding the Blizzard games we have on his list, there are actually some titles that he has worked on which is not a Blizzard game. So he did some work for Sony, and their titles Untold Legends, Dark Kingdom, and some multiple EverQuest DLCs that did get a release back in 2006. So that is all the information I basically want to give about Glenn. And this is also the 3 picks I did. I picked some sort of intro title screen music. And as I said in the beginning of this episode, I would love for you guys to reach out to me with some of the title screens or the first music that you remember from back in the day. Which type of games did you play the most that maybe you're still thinking about the title screen? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you go back to a game you don't remember the title screen for. Do this experiment. We're going back, listen to a soundtrack or a title screen which you don't remember, but from a game you have fond memories of. And then you send me the link so I can listen to it too. I would love to listen to what you played and what you remembered the most from when you were younger. So with this said, let's end the episode. And as usual, I will continue with a 2-week release date for as long as I need until I'm able to rebrand the podcast. So the next episode will be in 2 weeks, and it will be a filler episode as well. And with that said, other episodes that you may or will find about Finally game music, you'll find those on our homepage, Videospelsklubben.se, Spotify, or in your closest podcast app. Feel free to follow and comment on any of our social medias. That would either be Facebook or on Instagram. Just search for Finally game music and you'll find me there. Would you like to hear your name within one of the future episodes? And feel free to request any song for an upcoming episode. But for these filler episodes, I will basically just haywire, but please do comment on the episodes, as it really helps me get to know you guys some more, and I would just love to listen to the music that you will share with me. You can also support the podcast for future content and for quality updates, but in the end for future composers as well. So think about becoming a Patreon for the podcast. So our current awesome backers that we do have today is Andreas Nilsson and Daniel Onemark. And we also have my parents, which are new to the whole platform of Patreon. But I basically help them out in order for them to help me out in the end. And, well, not just me, but for future composers. So my parents' names are Lars and Titti Schenström. So, links where you can either buy and support the composers behind the music we'll listen to today. You will find those in our main post for this episode over at Videospelsklubben.se. So in 2 weeks we will be listening to more music that I've just dug up. I will not know what the current theme will be, but maybe you guys will give me something that sparks my mind, because this episode was basically sparked by one guy talking about video game music on Twitter. So thank you so much for listening for this week, and see you all guys in 2 weeks when we have the filler episode number 3. Have a good one, and see you or hear you all guys next time.